Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel, where today I am going to be reviewing The Shadow of Theron by Kathryn Troy in what is my first ever indie book review. So let me tell you a little story as to how this came about, because I was quite surprised myself. So one day I received an email from Kathryn Troy herself, very nice, approached me asking me if I would be interested in reviewing her book after having seen my channel. Now, I thought someone was pulling my leg or something, because no one in the right mind would approach me if they've seen my channel to ask me to review the book, because let's be honest, I am pretty sparse with my praise for most of what I read. I think that have been fairly obvious. But anyway, so I did a bit of sort of Google search and so on, and turns out that Kathryn is a real person who has written the book, published through City Owl Press, which is an independent publishing house. And having a look at City Owl Press, turns out it looks like every person that works there is a woman. So I don't know if that means something or not. But looking at the kind of books that the editors are open to receive, they're looking for a certain profile of books. And again, I don't know if that tells you something or not, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Hey, they've even got a psychic as a member of staff, so I don't know. Anyway, so hesitantly, I read the book. And the book pretty much does what the blurb that Kathryn sent me ahead says. So it is basically a fantasy novel set in a secondary world, which pretty much resembles our world. So in terms of world building, I have to be honest here, it wasn't anything mind-boggling at all. And if anything, I would say it's a little bit of lazy world building, because the story is pretty much the Zorro story, right? So rich kid who literally puts on a face mask at night and, fights the evil local sheriff and tries to conquer the heart of the town belle, who knows or doesn't know who he is in real life or not. Throw in some magical MacGuffins for good measure, and apparently this is going to be a trilogy. Now, I said the world building is a little bit lazy because, being a retelling of the Zorro, of the Mask of Zorro story, you cannot help but be put in mind of that great movie with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Antonio Banderas. Now, that notion in your head may be intentional, possibly, but it's not helped by the fact that the noble people in the village, town, place where the action takes place are referred to by the Spanish sort of pronouns. So señor and señora, don or doña, so there is don something and doña something. But then, just to confuse matters a little bit more, some people are referred to in Italian by the signora and signorina. So we have a bit of a weird Mediterranean mix there. Everything, Spanish, Italian, just chuck it all in. Why not? It's all the same. And then, I don't know, like, the action does take place at a good pace, I found. It is interesting enough, but I found the story to be it's sort of fairly generic. It's fairly generic. There are some magical items that have disappeared, and they need to be found and be brought back to safety in case they fall in the wrong hands, and away we go. The only thing I will say is a little bit... So I thought it's a fairly safe, generic fantasy story. The only thing that was a little bit different for me, something out of what I usually read, is that it has got heavy romance elements.
Let's
so heavy,
do
in fact,
it to
that there
it,
is a good
honey.
old scene there, right? Where finally Zorro and the signorina, and then he turns her around and from behind, right? It's not like, this is not XXX rated stuff, but it's just, I suppose, I don't care. I honestly do not care about whether my main characters are having sex or not. I don't need that in my fantasy. I do not want that in my fantasy. I don't know. I am too square-headed for that. So I want fantasy. If you're interested into that sort of hanky-panky and maybe some spunky literotica, there is that there. But in the Venn diagram of fantasy and other types of fantasies, there is no intersection for me. I'm not interested in that bit, one bit. But I suppose there must be a target audience who likes that kind of stuff. But I thought that mostly that's covered by the werewolf paranormal stuff. That's the kind of things that I'm so ashamed to admit my wife reads. She's into the whole werewolf domination pack, alpha male book with nipples on the cover type thing. For me, I couldn't care any less. Not that it's the main thing, that I think there's only one scene, but you're going to find that there. So maybe if you're looking for a bit of spice and romance in your fantasy, this is for you. One little thing that I wanted to mention, and as I said, it's small, it's a tiny thing, but it sort of reinforced my opinion on indie books, is that as I was reading it, there were, I counted 3 typos in the book, where instead of if, it said it, instead of through, it said though, and there was another one. And I know, look, I'm just being really picky here, and I appreciate that, but it sort of reinforces my view that these independently published books don't undergo the same scrutiny and the same quality assurance and checks that mainstream published books do. And I don't know what the circumstances are with Kathryn. I know that some of these companies do a sort of co-funded publishing of the book, so the author upfronts some money, so that's the publishing house, and they sort of got halves. I don't know, but if that's the case, and as an author you are providing some of the funding, you want the finished product to be as good as it can be. And if you've got typos in there, it is sending the wrong message. But like I said, this is me nitpicking there. The other thing that is present in the book, and again, nothing against her, so there's maybe in line with the CT Owl press and the kind of books they're looking for. They mentioned that they want to see books with representation. So there's a couple of characters that are gay, 2 male homosexual characters. And again, couldn't care any less. I get the sense that if you want to tick the representation box, there are 2 gay characters. Great. I suppose there are 2 heterosexual characters. Great. Nothing against it. I suppose, I was going to say, they do exist. Yes, they do exist. Homosexual people, and they have every right to everything. But fine, they're there. But it's not something that is going to put me off the book, or is going to attract me to read the book. It is, in general, relationships for me in fantasy books. I don't read fantasy for that. But if you're interested, if that's something that appeals to you, if you want to see more representation in your fantasy, you want to see a bit more romance, if you want to see a bit more spice, maybe this is the type of books for you. And it looks like I haven't explored in depth, but CT Owl does have a fair amount of books like that. Maybe check it out, have a look. For me, I'm pleased. I am grateful that Kathryn considered me to review her book. This is what I had to say about it. Am I going to continue with the series? Not really. It is not for me. At the moment, I am going through something with my fantasy books where I really want to feel very excited about the next series I pick up, because I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago. A lot of what I read is sort of fairly mediocre, and I want to feel really excited, not in that Kathryn Troy way, but in a, type thing. And this is it. This is all I have for today. As usual, thank you ever so much for watching. I'm going to leave details below on where you can reach Kathryn, where you can buy her book if you want to, shout out to her channel and everything else. And, I am open for conversation. If Kathryn feels, or if you're watching, if you feel that I've totally missed the point and you want to tell me where I've gone wrong, I am more than happy to engage in conversation. But anyway, this is all I have for today. Thank you ever so much, everyone. Take lots and lots of care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.